I think this is a series that a lot of people enjoyed. Wasted potential. Um, the first couple episodes I did Raven, pause, Big Show, and R Truth. The coming episodes, pause, will probably be Bam Bam Bigelow, Monty Brown, Abyss, maybe Juventud, Conan, these types of people. Now, I just mentioned a good list. And for this episode, as you can see by the title, we're going to go with Billy Gunn. Badass Billy Gunn. Hit the like button. Now, Billy Gunn came into wrestling at a time where you really had to pay your dues to get in it. You really had to have size to get in it. You really had to have size to make it. Billy Gunn, to this day, I mean, he might be the biggest person on the AEW roster. Good Lord. Smallville. It's literally Smallville. AEW is Smallville. Oh Lord. Did you hit the like button? Anyway, but that's one thing he always had was great physical stature. He was always in great condition because Billy Gunn's a real athlete. You know, if you listen to any of the stories about him, you know, he was a I believe he was a very good basketball player, good high jump. Apparently he rode horses, many things. He was, you know, it wasn't a gimmick in the Attitude Era when they used to say Billy Gunn is the best pure athlete in the WWF. That wasn't a gimmick. That wasn't just something to get him over. That was really true. He really was a great athlete. Now, when you get to the point where he enters the World Wrestling Federation, this is early 90s. I believe this might have been 93, 90, maybe 94. Definitely, I think 94, 95. And this is the time when McMahon and Pritchard and Cornette and Patterson and Briscoe, the whole office, for some reason around 94, 95, they get obsessed with wrestlers have to have occupation gimmicks. So this wrestler, he wrestles, but he's a plumber. This wrestler, he wrestles, but he's a hockey player. This wrestler is Mantar. It's like, Jeff Jarrett, he's a wrestler, but he's a country singer. The Road Dogg, who I'll certainly obviously talk more about in this video, the Road Dogg, he's a wrestler, lackey, but he's also a roadie on tour with Jeff Jarrett. He sets up the stage and the microphones. Good Lord. I don't know. You know, Vince McMahon is infamous for, like, being in the wrestling bubble. I don't know if, like, one day in 94, 95, he accidentally watched, like, some MTV documentary. Or he accidentally watched something. I don't know. Did they have Discovery Channel back in, like, 93, 94? I don't know. I don't know where he got this idea from that every gimmick you need to be a wrestler who has a side job. And apparently, if you look at the house shows and the ratings and the ticket sales or lack thereof of 93 to about 96, maybe the wrestlers were making so little money they really did need a side job. Good Lord. Apparently, according to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, Bret Hart was making like 400,000 and he's the champion. So if he was making that little as the champion, imagine what a imagine what a lower mid card is making in 94 WWF. But one thing that Billy Gunn had going for him was, like I said, his size, and he was a great athlete. So he wasn't a jobber. He wasn't so much a lower mid carder. He kind of got pushed and placed right in that mid card as a solid character with the Smoking Guns with Bart Gunn. And I think there are some people to this day who still like, are Bart Gunn and Billy Gunn, are they actually brothers or related? No, it's just a gimmick. It's like Edge and Christian. If you remember Edge and Christian at first, like they were just a team, and then they were brothers, and then they were cousins, and then now they're not. Whatever. The Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, they're not really brothers. There are some people who really think these things are true. They're not really half brothers. Anywho, but Billy Gunn is getting a good push. The Smoking Guns, they become tag team champions, I believe, rather quickly. But that was also a time when the tag division was kind of horrible in the World Wrestling Federation. You know, if you go through the history, for the most part, they had a good tag team history, probably in the 70s, 80s. You know, the Rockers, the Hart Foundation, you know, eventually, you know, Road Warriors come over. So they I guess if you look at the history from afar, you know, Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine, you know, they had some classic tag teams, but Vince McMahon, if you've ever paid attention to Vince McMahon's booking, he's never truly cared for tag team wrestling, and apparently Eric Bischoff was the same way. But that's another video for another day. But the Smoking Guns, they got a good push. They were tag team champions, but they were the tag champions and in that tag division at the top during a very weak era. This is a time when basically McMahon only cares about the main event. So that's Shawn Michaels, you know, Undertaker, Diesel. For some reason, I love Bob Backlund, but when they brought Backlund back and he was like the world champion, and then he was in that feud with Bret Hart, I love Backlund. I love his character. But his character at that time should not have been in the main event. I loved him as a crazy old man. He lost his mind because oh Lord, what was his manager? Scotland? Was it Arnold Scotland threw in the towel like 13 years prior? So then he went into hiding and he comes back in like 93, 94 and he's a madman. He chokes out Vince McMahon. I love the character, but that's not a main event character. But love the legend Bob Backlund. I believe he's Republican. Anywho, but Bart Gunn, they haven't been his tag team for a few years, and then when you get to like 97, they kind of lose their way with Billy Gunn. They kind of have nothing for him. At the same time, you know, 96, 97, this is when Jeff Jarrett, he's in and out and in and out. You know, he came from the Memphis territory with his father, and then he gets to the World Wrestling Federation, then he goes to WCW, then he comes back, then he goes back, then he comes back. Jeff Jarrett was just company hopping for like 3 years. Then the invasion happens, and then technically McMahon, I think, buys the contracts and fires him again. Like, Jeff Jarrett. And they put him in the Hall of Fame. Thank you for once again proving it. The Hall of Fame means nothing. You have Jeff Jarrett, the Bella Twins, and McMahon's limo driver in it. This means nothing. But when you get to 97, this is around the time when Honky Tonk Man is reintroduced to the World Wrestling Federation audience. Now, when you get to 97, Vince McMahon, there were periods, and this would really, really happen sooner in the next few years after 97, but McMahon, he always had a weird thing about mentioning history. He always, to this day, Vince McMahon and his people, they always love to rewrite history of everything. And at times they were afraid to acknowledge their own history, which it's insane. So when you get to 97, they bring back Honky Tonk Man. This is also a time when the ratings are down. So McMahon is grasping for anything. Maybe if we bring back some old favorites, it'll stir up some nostalgia from the 80s. So they bring in Honky Tonk Man. They bring in Iron Sheik. They put Iron Sheik with the Sultan. The Sultan is another one of Rikishi's gimmicks. I don't know if Rikishi's career would fit Wasted Potential. I think Rikishi actually was an overachiever when he got his gimmick in 99, 2000. So he probably wouldn't fit this series, but the amount of gimmicks they gave him, good Lord. But, so they bring back some legends, you know. it doesn't really boost any ratings or anything. I mean, it's Honky Tonk Man in 97. He's a minor character. They put him on commentary sometimes. But when Honky Tonk Man is brought in, they start this whole storyline where Honky Tonk Man is looking for a protege. He's looking for a young wrestler to mold to be the next great Honky Tonk Man, the next great Intercontinental Champion, whatever the case. So, the prospects that Honky Tonk Man was going to be put with were going to be, apparently the list in the creative meeting was Rocky Maivia, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and I think his name was Tom Brandy. Like, that was like the list that they were going to put as Honky Tonk's protege. But, excuse me, obviously The Rock was somebody who they really loved, so they didn't do that. And around that time, they once again, they brought in a legend, Rocky Johnson, put him with The Rock. They had like this, like I said, just this surge of let's bring back some legends, but let's not acknowledge our history. You know, at this time, this is also when a lot of their history is in WCW. So that's another reason why McMahon never wanted to really acknowledge history. They didn't want to acknowledge Hogan or Savage or, Big Boss Man or whoever at that time. So, Honky Tonk Man, who in later shoot interviews realized, they're going to put him with Billy Gunn, and he actually wanted to help Billy Gunn. He was going to give him advice to really try to help his career because he's a veteran and he sees that Billy Gunn is, they're not doing anything with him. He's kind of just there. Same thing with Road Dogg. But apparently Billy Gunn was hard to deal with, or he didn't take to Honky Tonk Man's advice. So that kind of destroyed that storyline. Now, I don't think that this was going to result in some giant push for Billy Gunn in 97. But it was going to be more than what he was doing. So the whole Honky Tonk Man, that thing like dissolves. Plus, I think Honky Tonk got up out of there because Jerry Lawler, him and Lawler had some weird feud. They're cousins in real life, but Honky Tonk thinks Lawler like buried him at this time. Like when they're on commentary, he couldn't get a word in. But Honky Tonk really wasn't that good on commentary. He was kind of really regular. But so that storyline doesn't last long. And eventually, if you look at the cards from back then, like, I think house show cards, a lot of the opening matches were the Roadie versus Billy Gunn, and they're exchanging wins and losses. It really didn't matter. They weren't in anyone's plans. And then when Russo gets more power in late 97, Vince Russo, one of his great positives is he always wanted to help the lower mid-card and the mid-card guys. He always thought, if people are on the roster, they should be working. They should be used. That's the one thing about Vince Russo. If you're on the roster, you're going to get an opportunity. Vince McMahon just has people on the roster just to have a roster. Bischoff had like 200 wrestlers in WCW's roster in 97, 98 just to have them. Just sitting around. Bischoff would pay you a giant amount of money just so you don't go somewhere else. Russo actually wanted to do things with everybody, not just the main eventers, everybody. It didn't matter if you were a ring announcer, a dwarf, if you had gonorrhea. It didn't matter what your affliction was. If you were on payroll, you were going to get used. So in late 97, this is when Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Chyna and Rick Rude, they have DX. And this is when a lot of the factions and stables are happening. Heart Foundation, DOA, the Los Boricuas, Nation of Domination. That's another route they took with The Rock. And, the Truth Commission of Don Callis, and that didn't last. But everyone was kind of in a clique except for maybe, I guess, like Shamrock and Austin were like the only... Shamrock, Austin, Undertaker, those were like the lone wolves. Everyone else was kind of in a faction, in a stable, a tag team, or had a manager. So when Russo sees that Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, they're not really doing anything, and I think Pritchard saw this. I think people took notice. Like, everyone's kind of like in something except them, so they just put them together as a tag team, and it kind of worked instantly as far as chemistry. And then you get to late '97, they're right there, putting them in a storyline with the Road Warriors, and then they're the tag champions. And then you get to early '98, Road Dogg is starting to do his famous entrance where he's talking on the microphone, and he has the a white man with braids is always funny. A white man with dreads is always funny. And they're starting to they change their look. Billy Gunn's wearing the half t-shirts with his belly button out. And they're wearing bandanas and all this type of stuff. They're wearing the Cartman shirts. This is when South Park is on fire. They're wearing Cartman shirts. I think they started wearing like jerseys sometimes. I remember, I think they both wore like a Brett Favre jersey to like, I think they did I don't know, did they do like a show in like San Francisco? I think at the time the Packers just beat the 49ers in the playoffs, so they wore like Brett Favre jerseys to get heat. They were really coming into their own, pause. And so did Grizzly Smith. But that was a dirty joke. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the Cash App in the description. A lot of these videos are from donations from people just like you. Check out my other 3 channels as well. Now, they're starting to get over, and they're to the point when you get to early '98, they're building up to WrestleMania, and the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, as they're known as, they went from jobbers, they went from nothing, they went from not even realizing they were on the roster to they're in a top feud with Terry Funk and Mick Foley going into WrestleMania 14. This is the feud that really, really elevated them. The next night on Raw, let me back up. They had the infamous segment where Foley is in a dumpster and the Outlaws push the dumpster off the stage. And this is when the stage was like a 10-foot stage, 8-foot stage. And that was a violent, dangerous spot. And apparently, like, I don't know, was Funk in the dumpster too? I know Foley was. And apparently, like, they really got, like, banged up in that. But, you know, that this stuff really helped them get over. And then the night after WrestleMania, they have this cage match. And then, you know, that's when DX reformed with Triple H as a leader. Six comes back, and he's now X-Pac. Shawn Michaels is gone for a few months. His back hurts. And, they reform DX, and there's a cage match. DX invades the cage, and DX and the New Age Outlaws, they're beating up Cactus and Chainsaw Charlie, Terry Funk. So basically DX is expanded, and if you get the behind-the-scenes story, apparently Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they wanted to latch on to them because they were getting over. So, but it worked. And then the summer of '98, DX blows up, takes off. New Age Outlaws are just insanely over. The catchphrases, the crotch chop, everything, the music, everything. So they're superstars now. You look at the summer of '97 and then look at the summer of '98. Billy Gunn is a superstar now. He's in the top tag team in all of wrestling. And by that time, Austin is hot. Rock is building up. Things are on fire. Undertaker and Kane is on fire. Everything. So everything is going great. Billy Gunn's in a great position. He's making more money than he ever made in wrestling. And then you get to '99. Now, once again, Vince McMahon is a body guy. He's a body guy, excuse me. He likes size. So when he looks at the New Age Outlaws, you know, he appreciates the Road Dogg's work. But if they're going to have long-term plans for someone, it's going to be Billy Gunn. So when you get to '99, this is when they have the idea, well, the Outlaws, it worked great, but let's do something with Billy Gunn. So they split up the New Age Outlaws, and Road Dogg goes to the hardcore division. You know, he has some infamous matches with Al Snow and I think D'Lo Brown. all types of insanity. And Billy Gunn is getting his singles push. And when they build up to WrestleMania 15, they're building up to... Actually, let me back up. If I'm not mistaken, Road Dogg, I believe Road Dogg and Billy Gunn both had singles matches at Rumble 99. I believe. I want to say it might have been... Was it Road Dogg versus Boss Man? Or was it Road Dogg versus Gangrel? Or it might have been Billy Gunn. I believe they both had singles matches at the Royal Rumble 99. I believe. So even by January 99, they're trying to make them both a single. And I made a video not too long ago. The New Age Outlaws together were incredible, but when they're solo, something is missing. Now, at this early time in 99, I don't think that really shone through yet. I think it showed more in mid-99 and definitely 2000 when Billy Gunn was injured. More on that later. Wasted potential. So, when they get to WrestleMania 15, they're building up, Shamrock and his sister, and then they put Goldust and Billy Gunn and Val Venus. Some crazy storyline. Oh, God. So then, once again, Ryan Shamrock and Ken Shamrock were not really brother and sister, but they were dating in real life, which makes it weird when they put a storyline that they're related. Who was ribbing Shamrock? That might be another one. Wasted potential. Ken Shamrock. That might be another one. D'Lo Brown, Test, Droz, the late Droz. There's a lot of people for this series. But anyway, so in mid-99, Billy Gunn is now a heel, and he gets some music talking about, I'm an ass man. Oh, I love to love him. I love to kick him. I love to stick him. I love to lick him. Oh, God. One of the greatest themes ever. The same guy, I don't want to say the artist, because I don't know if this is an artist. The same guy who sings Billy Gunn's theme is the same guy who sang the Eric Bischoff, I'm back, and I'm better than ever. They kept going back to this guy. I don't know who he is. And then he sang the Mr. Kennedy song. The Mr. Kennedy's theme in 07, whatever that was. I don't know. They went back to the same guy for a couple classic records. I want to know who sang the William Regal, he's a man, he's a man, he's a man. Hit the like button, man. Oh, some classic themes. Thank the Most High for Vince Russo and Jim Johnston. Oh, man. So anyway, Billy Gunn is now, he's no longer Billy Gunn. He's Mr. Ass. His gimmick is he has plump buttocks. And he has lips all over his tights. I love the Attitude Era, man. I love Billy Gunn, man. Oh, the original Dolph Ziggler. But anyway, Dolph Ziggler's favorite wrestler who he copied his career off of, Billy Gunn. He'll tell you that Ziggler loves Billy Gunn. Smart man. So anyway, when they get to the summer of 99, Billy Gunn's a heel, new music, new gimmick, whatever the case. His hair is slicked back. And they really look at him and say, this is a main eventer. So, if you go back to around the WrestleMania 15 Backlash, The Rock had been in that main event scene. He was the champion. Now Austin has the belt. And it is kind of interesting. For the rest of 99, The Rock never wins the title again. And The Rock is kind of not a main eventer anymore in 99. He's kind of an upper mid-carder. They used him to get Triple H over. They did put him in a feud with Undertaker for the belt. But then, they kind of slide him to upper mid-card, and he's with Billy Gunn. And then later on, Rock and Sock. And then, when in that summer of 99, after they do the whole Triple H Rock feud to elevate Triple H. Then they moved The Rock to Billy Gunn, and they really believe Billy Gunn is ready. He can hang with The Rock as far as athleticism, not on the microphone, because nobody can hang with The Rock on the mic except Flair and Austin and people like that. But they thought, he'll be elevated. The thing is, The Rock did not want to work with Billy Gunn. And it wasn't because The Rock did not like Billy Gunn. The Rock did not like Road Dogg. Now, this was another video for another day, but Road Dogg always hated The Rock. And he self-admitted, he was jealous of The Rock. He was jealous at his talent, his size, his charisma. But also, he did have a reason to dislike The Rock, because if you rewind, in 1995, early 96, Memphis Wrestling, that was a developmental for the WWF. Memphis. And in Memphis, I believe you had Brian Christopher, who was Grandmaster Sexay. You had Road Dogg. You had The Rock. You had many talent. And a lot of The Rock's catchphrases, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, that actually came from the Road Dogg. He didn't say, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. He said, if you smell what I'm cooking. Road Dogg came up with that catchphrase in Memphis, and The Rock took it from him and used it in WWF. So that causes heat in wrestling. So there are certain catchphrases, and I believe there might have been another catchphrase, I believe, and maybe even like some mannerisms that he actually did get from Road Dogg, and he used it. So Road Dogg was always, in wrestling, that gets you heat. You took someone else's thing. You didn't even ask them. You weren't even that close to them like that to borrow it. So he didn't like The Rock because of that, but he also didn't like The Rock because he was jealous of him. He admitted this. So backstage, The Rock was a very humble person, quiet person, a little political. But Road Dogg backstage in 98, 99, he was very boisterous, very loud, and he would try and berate The Rock backstage. He would shout things. He would try to clown The Rock backstage. Now, Road Dogg could do this because, once again, this is wrestling. Road Dogg, by that time in 98, 99, the Road Dogg, first of all, he's in the most powerful clique, which is DX. So if The Rock wanted to pull a political play, he couldn't pull a play on Road Dogg because Road Dogg is in the Triple H faction. Shawn Michaels is injured, but Shawn Michaels still has power. I made a video on this channel months ago about how Shawn Michaels buried Mick Foley and he changed the WrestleMania 15 main event. Go watch that video. I might have to republish it. So Road Dogg has ties to Shawn Michaels and Triple H. So Road Dogg has power, or at least he has protection. So The Rock could not pull a political play and get him buried. Road Dogg would have to destroy his own career, which he later did in 2000, but, well, I touched on that on the R-Truth Wasted Potential. Check that video out. So The Rock didn't yell back at him. The Rock didn't pull any play on him. But the one who suffered from this feud backstage was Billy Gunn. The Rock did not want to work with him. The Rock did not want to put him over. And The Rock did eventually win the feud. And The Rock roasted him on the microphone. That's why. You have a lot of stupid internet marks. Oh, The Rock, he used to bury people on the microphone. He used to bury Billy Gunn. He buried Billy Gunn because you don't know what's going on politically backstage. The whole, and they were classic segments and classic promos, the Billy Gunn praying to God, infamous. But he buried Billy Gunn every time because that's the consequence of the circle you're in. So Billy Gunn got buried because of Road Dogg and how he used to harass The Rock backstage verbally. Billy Gunn was a casualty of that. So The Rock wins the feud, and he should have, because Billy Gunn was not ready to be a main eventer at that time. And then Billy Gunn kind of slides back to the mid-card, upper mid-card, and eventually they reform DX as a heel group when Triple H is the world champion. Also, that's another video, how Triple H was not ready to be a main eventer in 99, and how they smashed him over, pause, and pushed him into oblivion to get him over. And then he finally got over in early 2000. But in 99, he was not ready. DDP, the same year, DDP was not ready, and they made him the world champion. But, and maybe DDP, maybe not, maybe it wasn't that he's not ready. DDP, maybe he should have won the belt in like 97, 98. By 99, DDP kind of cooled off. And then they turned him heel, put him in the Jersey Triad. But that's another video. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel. So, wasted potential right there is smoking guns, but he's still building up, so, they used him well. 97, he's not doing anything. Then New Age Outlaws pops off, so he reached his potential as a tag wrestler. 99, heel, new music, new gimmick, put him against The Rock, did not work. Put him back in DX, okay, now it's back again. Him and Road Dogg, there's just some sort of magic when they're a tag team, so things are good again. They're tag team champions. The New Age Outlaws sold a lot of merchandise. A lot of the DX merchandise, the jersey that X-Pac used to wear, a lot of the DX merchandise, it's sold because the New Age Outlaws. Not Triple H, not Shawn Michaels, not Chyna. It's sold because they brought personality to DX. They brought it. Yes, Shawn Michaels and Triple H doing the sausage party. I mean, that was just a bunch of grown men acting like they're 13. The real charisma came from when Road Dogg and Billy Gunn got together and joined the group. Now, you get to 2000 and they're building up. This is a time, I mentioned in 95 when you had the Smoking Guns, it was a very weak tag division. But when you get to early 2000, the New Age Outlaws are back on top. They're the tag champions, I believe. I believe they were the tag champions. If they weren't, they were right up there. And at this time, you have the Hardy Boys. You have the Dudley Boys. You have the APA. You have Too Cool. You still had Rock and Sock at times. So the tag division is bigger and better than ever, pretty much, in 2000. World Wrestling Federation. You even had Kai and Tai. The Radicals came in as a group, and, they would have different variations of tag teams. So the tag division is on fire, and they're building up to No Way Out 2000. And the SmackDown before No Way Out 2000, Billy Gunn, I believe he tore his rotator cuff, and then he re-aggravated it 3 days later at No Way Out versus the Dudleys. So Billy Gunn is written off TV, and Road Dogg is back to being a single and a tag team with X-Pac. So Billy Gunn is gone. So that wasted his potential because it was months and months. That injury was February. I don't think Billy Gunn returned until maybe September. And that really hurt his career because this is a time where, the spot you have means a lot. And if you lose it, someone else is going to get it. This is the Attitude Era. They're still in the Monday Night Wars. They don't really have time to save your spot unless you're Austin or Rock. You have to be a top guy like that to come back and get your spot. So when Billy Gunn returns, he returned and he grew his hair out and whatever the case. And when he returned, the only memory you really have is Austin is doing his investigation of who ran him down in Survivor Series 99, and Austin stuns Billy Gunn. That might have been a sign that we don't care about you anymore, because after that, what did Billy Gunn really do? They sort of put him with Chyna a little bit. They kind of reformed DX for a Survivor Series match. Billy Gunn and Road Dogg kind of reunited, but then Road Dogg gets fired. He's having his substance issues. You get to 2001. Billy Gunn changes gear again. He cuts his hair, new music again. He's in the mid-card. He still gets a gigantic pop in 01. He was getting a huge pop, but they weren't doing anything with him. He was a lower mid-carder now. I don't know if they lost faith in him because the Rock thing didn't work. He got hurt for so many months, but they really did nothing with him. 2001, at some point, they put him as a tag team with Big Show. This is when they lost faith in Big Show and Billy Gunn, so they just put them together as an odd tag team. And he really does nothing. In 2001, maybe the highlight for Billy Gunn is the night after King of the Ring when Edge wins. There's a segment where Billy Gunn's like a heel all of a sudden, and he challenges Edge. and then Edge buries him. I promise not to Billy Gunn, my King of the Ring. I actually forgot that. That's how much like the kind of just like up and down with him. He actually won King of the Ring 99. But it didn't really lead into anything. I just going through this live, I just remembered Billy Gunn won the King of the Ring in 99. But it didn't lead to anything. So, when you fast forward to 01, he's a lower mid-carder, and then you get to 02, and they put him with Chuck Palumbo, dye his hair, so he has another gimmick change. Now, Billy and Chuck, that did work, but it was real fruity. They did the wedding on SmackDown, which is one of the greatest swerves. The Billy and Chuck wedding segment on SmackDown in 02 is one of the greatest segments and greatest swerves ever. Rico is trying to make these two, tie the knot. Pause. Stephanie McMahon is there. Bischoff is, that is one of the greatest swerves ever. There's this old minister, and then Bischoff rips it off, the makeup, the shock on their faces. 3-minute warning runs down. Oh, it was tremendous. But then they end the Billy and Chuck storyline. And then Billy Gunn gets hurt again. You fast forward to 2004. I believe Billy Gunn makes another return. They put him back in his I'm an ass man gimmick, kind of. They put him with Torrie Wilson. They had no chemistry. And then shortly they release him. He ends up in TNA as Kip James. They redo the New Age Outlaws as the VKM. I don't even want to go through that whole fiasco. But then that doesn't really last. And then pretty much fast forward, he gets to be a trainer on Tough Enough when Steve Austin's doing it with Booker T and Trish. He was a good trainer. New Age Outlaws, they get one more rebirth in WWE, I believe 2013. I believe did they win the tag belts? I think they won the tag belts again. I don't remember. But that was, Legends coming back for a short time, and they had a storyline with the Shield. And, now he went to AEW. He I believe he might have been like a head agent or head booker or something at AEW. And then, now, as far as my knowledge, he was managing the Acclaimed, and that got over. So Billy Gunn, he's always found a way to have success in spite of failures or bad booking. He's having success right now. His sons are in AEW. They have good potential. He's over as daddy ass. He just can't get away from this buttocks gimmick. He's scissoring men on national TV, as you do. So, wasted potential, Billy Gunn, but he's a legend. He was part of a legendary movement. And this was a long-ass video. And salute to those who stayed this long. Pause. And I'm up out of here. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Donate to the Cash App if you enjoy this content. If you have a video request, if you want a question answered in a video form, donate to that Cash App. And I'm up out of here.